Listen up, get ready, I'm not gonna take no more. There's a revolution, a revelation going on in my soul. Buckle up, get ready, we're not gonna sit back.
Okay, all you listeners and viewers of Live from the Heartland, this is the show for the week of December 5th. And I'm going to bring on now a friend and neighbor who's been a longtime activist, and he is a co-founder of Protect Rogers Park, the one and only Gabe Gonzalez. Good morning to you, Gabe.
Morning. Always a pleasure to see you, Mike.
How about giving us a little history on Protect Rogers Park and maybe some interactions and confrontations that you've had with ICE? I know that a couple blocks from my house, you had about 400 people up there, bicycles, whistles, etc. When ICE was spotted a few weeks back. Fill us in, brother.
Sure. So Protect RP was started in 2017, actually, in the first administration, when we were concerned that there was going to be an uptick in immigration activity in the neighborhood. And we wanted a way to engage our neighbors and protect our neighborhood from federal incursion. Honestly, the first administration was nowhere near as bad as it is now. There was an uptick in ICE activity. We were able to train a number of folks, and we had a rapid response network set up. But after, a couple of years, when COVID hit, it sort of really changed. And a lot of the people that have been engaged with Protect RP became part of the mutual aid network that was run out of Alderwoman Haddon's office. And then in the Biden administration, while there was problems at the border and there was problems with newcomers in places like Chicago, again, it was nowhere near the same scale that we've seen since. So we recommitted. The organization never went away, but we recommitted ourselves back in January of this year. I can't believe it's not been quite a year. And since that time, we've grown by leaps and bounds, mostly because of ICE incursions. So the first big one is the one that you just mentioned, Mike. That was in, I want to say September, but the time before and the time now. When there was, they came at London Clark and grabbed up a couple of people. And then that day they were all over the neighborhood and took a few more. And that was the beginning of a first major incursion here. And the response to the neighborhood was just, fantastic. I think it's painful. We have a map now of every location that we know that they've taken somebody, and that is really hard to look at. But at the same time, seeing the response of people in Rogers Park has just been amazing. So we went from an organization that had probably 50 trained verifiers and a core team of, I think, 5. Now our core team is 16 or 17 people. It's on the verifiers chat on Signal. We have 1,000 people on any given day. There's about another 3,800 who get regular communication with us. School patrols, bike patrols, neighborhood patrols, people who want to do mutual aid and help out neighbors, people who do art events and shows and remembrances. And it's just been an incredible response from the people in Rogers Park.
Yeah, they really, everybody's got their whistles.
Yeah.
And I know that, they're being used a lot of places. When after that first big incursion up here, it seemed like ICE went up to Evanston and wreaked a little havoc. And we did have the mayor on, Daniel Biss, talking about it a couple weeks back. How many people have really been grabbed in Rogers Park and taken away? I mean, we have, compared to any other ward, maybe not all of them, but we have a group of people who are really trying to prevent the incursion by ICE. What's your overall sense of how many people they've taken? We don't know.
We don't know. We can verify that there were at least 22 that were arrested. We're certain it's higher, but we just don't know all the incidences. Those are the ones that we can track with some level of authenticity or whatever, veracity, whatever word you want to use. I know one of our core team members is actually talking with some folks today to see if they have a larger list so we can have some sense of that. Compared to some other neighborhoods, it's not been anywhere near as bad. That's for sure. Little Village, the Southwest Side, Gage Park, places like that have been hit really hard. And some of the suburbs too. You mentioned Evanston and that violence that we saw up there. I was there that day. It was really ugly. But also in places like Berwyn and Cicero and Aurora and Elgin and places like that, they've all been hit Melrose Park, all been hit pretty hard. It doesn't compare, but it's still loss, right? And there's still people that they grabbed up, and there's still armed men running around the neighborhood, making people feel unsafe.
How much are you different organizations in touch with each other?
A lot. So citywide, ICIRR, the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights, and OCAD, which is the Organized Communities Against Deportation, coordinate a citywide sort of gathering and hotline, and they are the ones that collect a fair amount of the data. And then, so we participate there, but also in Edgewater and Uptown, in Westridge, in Evanston, Niles, Skokie, we communicate with all those rapid response groups also. Because, if they're there, they're going to be here. And if they're here, they're going to be there. And there's a whole bunch of people out there who are really doing really good work to keep everybody safe.
What is the situation with ICE now?
Yeah.
I know that we don't have any National Guard troops here. Broadview is kind of, I think, closed down a little bit or slowed down a little bit.
Slowed down.
How heavy is ICE now, and what do you predict about their return in the spring, as we've heard some people talk about? Yeah,
so one thing, it's definitely less, but, this is a funny thing. There were so many agents and they were so active here in Chicago that we are now back to a level that is still greater than it was a year ago or 4 years ago or 5 years ago even. But it seems less because we were hit so hard. But it's still more. ICE is still active. And so we still need to be vigilant and working to protect our neighbors in all across the metropolitan area. But it is less. Whether they'll be back or not, I don't know. I will say this, we count those losses. We think about it all the time. In fact, we're going to be having an event here, probably I should know the date off the top of my head, but I don't, but in about a week to remember some of these. We're going to start hanging some art, and then we're going to have the event in January, sort of like a procession to remember the people that were taken and go to some of the places they were taken from. We always are thinking about that. But at the same time, Chicago really, really showed up. Rogers Park for sure, but the whole city, man, I think they did not expect the level of resistance they got. And I think it really messed them up. They came in saying they were going to take 1,000 people a day or a week. And I think in total, it was about, the last number I saw, it was in the high hundreds in total. So I
think some of their figures, too, included Indiana and other areas.
I mean, they lie. We all know they lie. They lie about everything. They were caught by the judge lying repeatedly. So whatever. Will they be back? I don't know. But I will tell you, this is how we look at it, this is about authoritarianism. It just happens that they're attacking immigrants. And now refugees, because the Somalis are almost all refugees. They're not immigrants. They're people that came here, believing in what was written at the base of the Statue of Liberty and were allowed into the country and have visas and have status. But now they're going after them. Why? Oh, I don't know. Maybe because they're black. But it might be any other group that they would attack. It just so happens that it's immigrants. So we at Protect RP feel like a big part of what we're doing is building community and showing people how they can count on each other when the authoritarians come, so that we can, whatever the challenge, we can meet it together. And will they be back? I don't know, but I know we'll be ready for them.
We will.
And if they do something else, we'll be ready for that too.
Well, you mentioned how strong we've been here in Chicago. And, we are the greatest city in the world, no doubt about it. Just put it right out there. And we set an example for other places. And I know that the ICE and the federal agents have now been sent into Memphis, to Charlotte, to Minneapolis, and today, I think, New Orleans. And I'm wondering if I think you and some other members of Protect Rogers Park went down to Charlotte and met with people down there. Why don't you share that experience and how receptive people were to what you brought to them? They had a march of 24,000 students opposing ICE down there. Fill us in on what's going on around other cities and how much our people here in Chicago are in touch with the other cities' activists.
So me and another one of our core team members went to Charlotte for a few days, and we did some trainings with them, and we talked to some of their leaders, and we shared a lot of what we had learned. And not just the two of us, but like a lot of the folks back here have been sharing information with Charlotte. Tonight, in fact, we're doing a training on Migro Watch for the folks in Minneapolis. And then on Saturday, we're doing another training for them on how they build their group cell. We're in touch with people in New Orleans. We'll probably do the same, and Memphis for that matter. As a matter of fact, we are in touch with all those cities. I would say two things. One, the general reaction from people is they're grateful, right? Because they're like, look, we saw what happened there. And we saw what you all did, not just us, everybody. And we want to learn that. So what do you got? And so they're grateful. We give them practical advice on how to get stuff done. We recognize that every city's different and that they're going to be the experts. What we have is an experience that we can share with them, ways to communicate with each other, ways to do actions that will slow them down, and a strategic perspective. So it was always with us, with PRP, it was about resisting authoritarianism. And the way we felt we were going to do it was not, we knew that we couldn't save everyone. We could save a lot, but not everyone. But if we could slow them down, if we could cost them money, then they were going to have a hard time here. And that's what we set out to do. And we've been teaching that to other cities. And it's been a real learning experience, and it's pretty moving. We have people here who will teach them how to run patrols, who will teach them how to do school patrols, who will teach them how to run their signal chats so that they're most effective, and all these folks you mentioned, I was a longtime activist, it's true. A lot of these folks were not. But they saw what was happening and they stepped up, and it's been an amazing thing to watch really dedicated people say, resistance doesn't end at our borders. It doesn't end at Rogers Park borders or Chicago or Illinois. Like they want to go where the fight is. And that's been something.
With the first march against Trump, I think last February, it seemed like there were a lot of people long in the tooth, gray hairs, older people, a lot of old movement people I saw down there. What's your sense now of who's turning out on this? I'm sensing there's a lot of young people showing up on their bikes when they hear the whistles. It seems like it's all ages are involved now.
It's all kinds of people. I think fundamentally, people really just know this is wrong. Like a masked man throwing somebody in the back of a car is just wrong.
It is.
And people are not here for that shit. I will tell you, not just here. So you remember they let off that tear gas in Lincoln Park.
Right.
We went down there the next day and started knocking on doors because we weren't going to expand. Like we got enough work to do, but we wanted to agitate them and get them moving. Right. And I was talking to this woman at the door, and Lincoln Park, right? She was most concerned about her two live-in helpers, the nanny and the cleaner that lived in her house, right? I mean, just the level of cash. But here was the thing I remember. She kept saying, can I have one of those whistles? Can I have one of those whistles? And I thought to myself, like, lady, you could go down to the store and buy all the whistles, right? Like you got live-in staff. But then I realized what she was asking for. It was an orange whistle, right? Like she had seen on TV all these people with orange whistles. And that's the one she wanted because she wanted to be part of the movement. And she saw that as an emblem of what it meant to be in a movement. And that was really, I took the one around my neck and I handed it to her. I'm like, sure.
On. I've got a silver one as well as this.
Well, the silver ones, I honestly are louder, but mostly
they're better.
But the color of it is important, you know? And I, as a signifier to everybody, like when I drop the kids off at school, I see them now, they're all bundled up because, man, it's cold, but sitting on the corner and I see those orange whistles and I know my kids are safer, you know?
No, it's good. You know, I want to go back to Minneapolis a little bit because Trump was calling people in Minneapolis, Somali people, garbage. He was calling people garbage. This is the president of the effing United States. And, you know, it's out of control. And clearly there's a congresswoman up there that he doesn't like. She's been a thorn in his side. But what is the distinction between people who are refugees and immigrants in terms of ICE and who is the feds who are people going to have to deal with up there?
So the best way to think about it is that refugees are a subset of immigrants. So immigrants are anyone who was born somewhere else and comes to the United States to live, right? Some have documents, some don't. Within the documented population, there's this class of refugees. These are people who go through like an international process, starting at whatever country they're in when they begin that process, because usually it's not their home country. These are people that had to run, right? And they had to run for any number of reasons. It could be religious, it could be sexual orientation, it could be ethnicity or skin color, whatever, but they had to run from where they were. And then they go through this lengthy process where they get vetted and they have to have a sponsor and they come to the United States and they all have papers from day one. And they have people who are like vouching for them and they work to get them jobs and they set them up and there's English class, there's all this sort of wraparound services for these folks. It doesn't last forever, but it's a way to get them on their feet. And a lot of them, like in a place like Minnesota, because it's not just Somalis, there's a lot of Hmong. The Hmong population in Minnesota is very large. Those are people that fought for us, right? And so when they came here, it was like we owed them something. They put their entire communities on the line, you know, and Somali refugees, like they can't go home. They go home, they'll be killed. And so it is a special class. Like I mean, obviously Protect RP, we believe that everybody should be able to come here, but this is a protected class of folks that already have documents. And the fact that they're going after them shows that they don't really give a shit what people's status is. What they want to do is just target anybody with dark skin. And in particular, whoa, Somalis, it's great. They look like black folks and they're immigrants. Like, that's great. Let's get them. You know, it's really just awful.
Gabe, let me ask you, how can people get in touch with you or Protect Rogers Park?
Yeah.
If you want to know more, get involved.
We got a Facebook page.
You've been a busy guy. I know you were all over NPR and you were in the newspapers about Chicago's role and going to help in North Carolina.
Not just me,
attention.
Bunch of folks, but yes. So you can go to Facebook. You can find us on Facebook at Protect Rogers Park. There's an Instagram account as well. And then there is PRP626 at Gmail. Let me just, you know what? Let me make double sure that that's the exact, because I never email us. So, you know, maybe I'm wrong on that. It looks like I'm wrong on that. It is. I am. It's protectrp626 at Gmail. Those are all ways you can get started. And what we recommend is like it leads you to a list of ways that you can get engaged or ways you can get information. And we love to be in a position where the whole neighborhood was just one big organization. Yeah.
Right on. I can't wait till that happens either. Thanks a lot, Gabe Gonzalez, for coming on live from the Heartland. You've been real full of information, and I always like talking to you, and I'll see you in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I'll see you. Take care.
Everybody else?